All right, TGI Friday. The main news today is two things. Number one, the endorsement process for the presidential election. The National Fraternal Order of Police Board of Directors earlier this morning voted unanimously, 44 with 2 abstentions, to endorse President Trump for re-election as the 47th President of the United States. The endorsement process is as this. Local lodges, such as Lodge 7, were tasked with taking a survey of its membership to see where they were at, then make a recommendation to the state, and then the state would then take a vote and make a recommendation at the national board meeting, which is currently going on in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's what was done. At the membership meeting last week, there was basically an election held, and the vote was 98-3 to endorse Trump over Harris. Earlier in the month, the National FOP released the survey that they put out to the candidates' campaigns, and President Trump and his campaign answered every single question that was submitted by the National FOP Presidential Committee that does these surveys. Unfortunately, the Harris campaign didn't answer a single question. Instead, they just provided a summarization, 7-page document, I believe it was, of positions and ideas and platitudes. It didn't specifically address anything, which I think is a pretty telltale sign of trying to skirt around the issues of being pro-law enforcement. That probably weighed pretty heavily on the decision, and so when I reported last week to the board of directors down in O'Fallon, Illinois, that our vote was 98-3 the night before, the state board of directors then took a vote, and it was 22 in favor of a Trump endorsement and 2 abstentions on the state level. That recommendation, as I said, was carried out and conveyed at the board of directors meeting this morning. Now, I'm sure there'll be some people who think we shouldn't get involved in politics. We should just remain silent, stay out of it, etc., etc. For many different reasons. They may, not like the Trump endorsement as opposed to Harris. It is what it is. Everybody has an opportunity to have their voices heard in the ballot boxes. But the simple reality is, when it comes to this profession, law enforcement, there hasn't been a bigger supporter than President Trump in at least my lifetime or career. I can assure you, at least my personal opinion, I'd be hard pressed for anybody to challenge that statement. And the opponent, Vice President Harris, has routinely shown an anti-police stance. All the other issues attached to presidential politics are secondary when it comes to this union. It doesn't mean that we're anti-Democrat in any way, shape, or form. We have many great relationships with both sides of the aisle and work with them routinely in Springfield. Chicago's a little different because, most of the aldermen are Democrat in name, except many of them are more communist in actions than it is name. So it's a lot trickier when it comes to city council. But onward we go. Whatever happens at the election, the National FOP will be forced to work with whoever becomes the president of the United States. And I just wanted to explain the process so there is no confusion on how we got here. This wasn't one single person's arbitrary decision. It was a process, the same process that is always followed. Now on to the second, probably more pressing issue specific to this membership. Later today, a letter will be submitted to not only the mayor, but also the committee chairmen of Police and Fire and Public Safety, Alderman Taliaferro and Alderman Hopkins, demanding a committee hearing. I don't know what the Community Commission decided as far as their meeting and what they're going to vote about a vote of no confidence, but the walls are closing in on Andrea Kirsten. Her roosters have come home, there's no doubt. And all I could say is the mayor, if he had any ounce of integrity, would immediately put her on administrative leave like she would strip an officer, or would have already been stripped. But when you arbitrarily fire two people who are named plaintiffs in a lawsuit against your organization because they're now making complaints against you because they want to get ahead of saving their own lives, basically, in skin and professional careers. So they're willing to throw you under the bus and confess to what has been going on there. So you fire them. Now you're costing the taxpayers a lot of money, because that will be a wrongful termination lawsuit settlement. There's no doubt about it. And she's solely responsible for that because she's trying to save her own skin. But now, when a dozen or more now former and current investigators are tendering a letter of no confidence in Andrea Kirsten and acknowledging and almost verbatim taking the language in our complaint, in our lawsuit, saying that she is absolutely biased and rigging investigations. The time has come. She should no longer have any authority. You want to keep paying her? Keep paying her. Put her in a paid status. I can care less. But the mayor's office should immediately either ask for her resignation, effective immediately, or they should put her in administrative leave and take control of that organization out of her hands, effective now. There is no other middle ground for this. You talk about accountability, Mr. Mayor. Well, how about holding the people who supposedly are supposed to be accountable for police misconduct to hold ourselves to the same standard or even a higher standard? You're not doing it. You're not forcing her to do it. The ball's in your court. We're not going to let this go. All I know is her days are numbered. It's a matter of time before she is either forced out or resigns, and it shouldn't have to take 2 months, according to the timelines that were reported in the news, of the process taking place before she does the right thing and owns up to her malfeasance, and that's probably the kindest word I can use. Our members not only deserve that, but the public deserves it. This entity was created on accountability, and it has been a farce for far too long, ever since she took over for Sidney Roberts. And even while she was there under Sidney Roberts, it has just gotten exponentially worse under Andrea Kirsten, and she needs to go. With that, have a great weekend. There probably will be a Friday video next week, but I am on vacation. I'm still going to try and do one when I'm on vacation, but there may not be a video update next week. Stay tuned. Have a good weekend.